bhavam Bhagavan Veda guhyatamam Shivaha Devarushir Nārada Sakshat Bhagavan Kapilo Nrupa. Asya, of him, Anubhavam, glories, Bhagavan, the most powerful, Veda, knows, Guhyatamam, very confidentially, Shivaha, Lord Shiva, Devarshihi, the great sage among the demigods, Nāradaha, Nārada, Sakshat, Bhagavan, directly, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Kapilaha, Kapila, Nrupa, O King. Translation and purport by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. O King, Lord Shiva, Nārada, the sage among the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all knew very confidentially about his glories through direct contact. Please repeat the translation. O King, Lord Shiva, Nārada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidentially about his glories through direct contact. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Pure devotees of the Lord are all bhavas, or persons who know the glories of the Lord in different transcendental loving services. As the Lord has innumerable expansions of his plenary form, there are innumerable pure devotees of the Lord who are engaged in the exchange of service of different humors. Ordinarily, there are 12 great devotees of the Lord, namely Brahma, Nārada, Shiva, Kumara, Kapila, Manu, Prahalada, Bhishma, Janaka, Shukadeva Goswami, Bali Maharaj, and Yamaraj. Bhishma Deva, although one of them has mentioned only 3 important names of the 12 who know the glories of the Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, one of the great acharyas in the modern age, explains that Anubhava, or the glory of the Lord, is first appreciated by the devotee in ecstasy, manifesting the symptoms of perspiring, trembling, weeping, bodily eruption, which are further enhanced by study understanding of the glories of the Lord. Such different understandings of bhavas are exchanged between Yashoda and the Lord, binding of the Lord by ropes, and in the chariot driving by the Lord in the exchange of love with Arjuna. These glories of the Lord are exhibited in his being subordinated before his devotee, and that is another feature of the glories of the Lord. Shukadeva Goswami and the Kumaras, although situated in the transcendental position, became converted by another feature of bhava and turned into pure devotees of the Lord. Tribulations imposed upon the devotees by the Lord constitute another exchange of transcendental bhava between the Lord and the devotees. The Lord says, I put my devotees into difficulty, and thus the devotee becomes more purified in exchanging transcendental bhava with me. Placing the devotee in material troubles necessitates delivering him from the illusory material relationship. The material relations are based on reciprocation of material enjoyment, which depends mainly on material resources. Therefore, when material resources are withdrawn by the Lord, the devotee is 100% attracted towards the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Thus, the Lord snatches the fallen soul from the mire of material existence. Tribulations offered by the Lord to his devotee are different from the tribulations resulting from vicious action. All these glories of the Lord are especially known to the great Mahajanas like Brahma, Shiva, Nārada, Kapila, Kumara, and Bhishma, as mentioned above, and one is able to grasp it by their grace. doesn't see Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamy Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gauravaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here context where Bhishma Deva is explaining about the glories of the Lord. In the last verse we saw Krishna, even though he was physically present with all the Yadus and Vrishnis and Pandavas, they could not understand his capacity. They could not know his glories. One perspective can be, even though Yudhishthira Maharaj is a constant great devotee of the Lord Krishna, why they had to suffer so many troubles, even though in the constant association of the Lord? Like these various categories are there for us to get resolved. So in this verse, Bhishma Deva is saying all these things can be understood only by the grace of a pure devotee. By our individual capacity, we can never understand the Lord's glories. That's why he said, Asya Anubhavam Bhagavan. Therefore, the glories of the Lord, Anubhavam, Veda Guhyatamam, they are to be known which are most confidential. Guhya, Guhyatara, Guhyatama. So they are of the superlative degree, they are most confidential. Then who knows them? Bhishma Deva is saying three personalities here. Shiva, Lord Shiva knows them. Devarshir Nārada, the sage among the demigods, Nārada knows them. Sakshat Bhagavan Kapila, Lord Kapila, who is the supreme personality of Godhead. Only these people, means some examples. So, Nrupaha, oh my dear King Yudhishthira, these great personalities, only through them, because they know more about the details of the supreme personality of Godhead, only through them we can understand about the position of Lord's glories. So in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining there are 12 Mahajanas which were certified by Yamaraj himself in the 6th canto, where he says they confidentially know these 12 Mahajanas about the Lord's glories through direct contact. Otherwise, Lord's activities can be bewildering, as explained in the previous verse. Like why he does, we cannot understand. Like for example, when I was reading first time Bhagavatam, there was one context wise, Lord Krishna, when he entered Mathura with all his friends, there was one washerman who was the Kamsa's personal assistant. So, when Krishna went to that washerman and asked him, we wanted some rich clothes, we want to wear. The washerman insulted Krishna by saying, these clothes are meant for royal family, not for some cowhead boys. Will you go away from here or not, or I will call the constables to drive you out from here. So, Krishna book, it says, Krishna became angry. So, in that anger, he hit that washerman with his hand at the neck part. Like this. As soon as he hit, the washerman's head got separated from his body and he was killed instantly. Now I was contemplating, why did Lord Krishna, for a small offense of not giving clothes, kill him? It's a very small thing. Krishna had asked something, or that person rejected the proposal. But Krishna gave severe punishment for that, highest punishment of killing himself. Later, when we got little realization, okay, what the perspective is, who is this washerman? This is the same washerman who commented on Sita Devi's character in Ramayana, for which Sita Devi had to be banished into the forest when she was pregnant. So Ramachandra did not punish him there. He gave him one more opportunity to reform, to give him a seva so that I will excuse you as Krishna. At Krishna's time, he did not recognize the position of the Lord. Again, he committed the offense of offending the Lord. So this time Lord said, I am not like Ramachandra. I will not excuse you. This time I will clean you up. See, unless we understand the deeper perspective through Acharyas, we will not know this detail. So like that here, Bhishma Deva is one of the Mahajanas. So the persons who know the glories of the Lord in different transcendental loving service, different devotees, different ways they are connected with the Lord, so different moods they exhibit. Like Bhishma Deva, he was connected with Lord Krishna in a chivalrous mode. Bhishma Deva being a pure devotee, why he is there in the opposite side when he was supposed to be on the Pandava side? He had an individual desire of satisfying the Lord by fighting with the Lord. So in that way, Lord circumstantially placed Bhishma Deva in the opposite side. Even though you may be my pure devotee, even though you are an authority on the Vedic literature, on my confidential pastimes, if you go against me, you will not be spared. See, Lord uses his own devotees. For example, when Lord, in the case of Jaya Vijaya, why they were cursed to become in the material world, to become the demons. Lord, it is said that in a funny perspective, it is said, Lord became little, by not having physical exercise, his body was becoming little tight. So he wanted to have a fight. So there was no competent person who can fight with the Lord. So Lord created a situation where two of his best devotees, Jaya and Vijaya, will be cursed. They become the demons in this material world. Lord takes an incarnation, goes fight with them, and little flexes his body by fighting with them. In a little perspective, in a joking way, this said. Because Lord, unless Lord decides, nothing can happen. How can pure devotees in the Vaikuntha be cursed? There is no chance that Vaikuntha, the devotees can fall down to this material world. It is a will of the Lord. So unless we understand the mood and intention of the devotee, even though they are in a negative mood, they are serving the Lord. They were so much contemplating about the Lord that even they set an example how to remember the Lord by their perspective. Even though they are demons, but they are always constantly thinking of the Lord, but in a mood of enmity. So there are innumerable pure devotees based on innumerable expansions of the plenary form, and their exchanges are in a different relationships. So every devotee has a different mode of connecting with the Lord. So different examples of understanding of Krishna's glories are Mother Yashoda binding the Lord when Lord did a prank. So Mother Yashoda became angry and she tried to, Damodar Leela, she tried to tie him. So Lord expanded his capacity that through rope, he tried to teach to us, you cannot never catch me. You can never tie me up. That rope which was unlimited. As a chariot driver, Lord's exchange of love with Arjuna, the Lord became the order carrier. Like for example, when the war was over, after 18 days, the last day, while they came back from the war, so generally what is the etiquette? Who will get down from the car? The driver will get down, come forward, open the door for the master to come out of the car. That day, Krishna said to Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, you get down with all your weapons and take up all your weapons and get down the chariot. Now Arjuna said, no, my dear Krishna, this is not the etiquette. First the driver gets down, then I will come down. Krishna said, you believe me? You get down. Because Krishna was insisting, Arjuna got down with his Gandiva bow and other things. And as soon as Arjuna got down, Krishna jumped from the chariot. And when Krishna jumped from the chariot, the entire chariot was burnt to ashes. Then Arjuna was surprised. What happened, my dear Krishna? What happened? How suddenly the entire chariot was burnt to ashes? Krishna said, during the Mahabharata war, many weapons, astras, which did not hit you had hit the chariot. Because I was sitting on the chariot, they did not exhibit their capacity. As soon as the war is over, now as soon as you got down, I permitted them to execute their duty. Or else that day itself, if except me, if somebody else was your chariot driver, you would have been burnt to ashes. See how Lord is protecting his devotees. So that is a rasa. As a Lord, as a subordinate, but still protecting his devotee because the devotee is very dear to him. Like that. Then exhibition of glories in pastimes of subordinate before his devotee in various perspectives. So, how do we understand all these characteristics? How do we know about this Lord? So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while discussing with various devotees, he was setting a standard. Whom to hear from? He says, Prabhu kahe, Shruti Smriti Yata Rishigana, Sabe Ekamata Nahe, Binna Binna Dharma. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Shruti, Smriti, Yata Rishigana. There are various sages. There are various scriptures. There are various documentaries, commentaries. Sabe Ekamata Nahe. All their opinion is not one. They do not have one common conclusion. Binna Binna Dharma. Everybody is saying different topics. Dharma Stapana Hetu Sadhura Vyavahara. Then what is the duty of sadhu? The duty of true purpose of sadhu is to establish the religious principles in truth. Puri Goshanira Ye Acharana say Dharmasara. And Madhavendra Puri, the behavior of Madhavendra Puri is the essence of such religious principles. Prayena Veda Tad Idam Na Mahajanoyam Devya Vimohita Matir Hata Mayayalam Trayam Jadikrita Matir Madhu Pushpitayam Vaitanike Mahati Karmani Yujamanaha. So Bhagavatam says, Devya Vimohita Matir Hata Mayaya. Because we are bewildered by Deva Maya, illusory energy of the Lord, Prayena Na Veda Mahajanoyam. Except Mahajanas, nobody could understand the purport of the religious principles. Understood? Except Mahajanas, because of Deva Maya, nobody could understand the essence of religious principles. Therefore, Trayani Madhu Pushpitayam, because their minds are attracted by the ritualistic ceremonies of the Vedas, flowery language of the Vedas, Jadakruta Matihi, their intelligence became dull. People became very dull. So, Yuchmanaha, being very busy in collecting ingredients for ritualistic ceremonies, Mahati Karmani Vaithanike, they want to show elaborately, actually ritualistic ceremonies, but not understanding the purpose of performance of the yajnas, which yield only temporary material benefits like elevation to Svargaloka. If you follow Vedic perspective, it is Karmakanda system. Majorly Karmakanda principles, which will encourage us of going towards heavenly planets. Therefore, they are not attracted to the Sankirtana movement. Instead, they are interested in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. People are generally interested in satisfying this material bodily perspective. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. This is the way of life. Chaturvarga. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said there is something superior, which is considered as Panchama Veda. What is called as? No. Panchama Purushartha. So that Panchama Purushartha is love of Godhead. So that is the thing what we have to work in that direction. And further he says, he quotes a verse from Mahabharata, he says, Tarko Pratishta Shrutayo Vibidna. Shri Radha Govinda ki. Nasho Rushiryasya Matam na Binnam Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhaya Mahajano Yena Gatasya Pantaha. Tarko Pratishta. People are there to argue. Tarkaha means arguments are there. Tarko Pratishta Shrutayo Vibhanna. And different scriptures present different points. Vibhinna Shrutayaha. Nasho Rushiryasya Matam na Binnam. And there are many sages. And their opinions are different in nature. Matam na Binnam. Nobody will accept. One sage will not accept the other sage. So unless you do not contradict the previous sage, you are not a Muni. You are not a philosopher. So, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya. The tattva of dharma is hidden within the scriptures. Nihitam guhaya. It is there confidentially hidden in the Vedic literatures. Then how do I understand about the tattva? Mahajano yena gatassa pantaha. Unless you follow in the footsteps of Mahajanas, that truth will not be revealed to us. Unless you follow in the footsteps of pure devotees, the glories of the Lord will not be revealed to us. And further he says, Neha yat karma dharmaya na vairagaya kalpate na tirthapada sevaye jivan api mrutopi saha. So although this life is meant not to elevate for religious life, Neha yat karma dharmaya. Our activities are not meant for, anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life. Next, na vairagaya kalpate, and anyone's religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation from this material world. And na tirthapada sevaya, which will ultimately culminate us to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. If that is not encouraging to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotion service, Jivan api mrutopi saha, even though he is breathing, he is considered dead man. Parama karana Ishvara keha nahi mane, swaswa matastape paramathera khandane. So, of the philosophers mentioned, there are various philosophers. None of them really care for the Supreme Lord, the cause of karma, Parama Karana Ishvara, who is the cause of all causes. Keha nahi mane, many people do not accept. All these philosophers, they do not accept. Swaswa mata stapaye, they want to prove their own opinions. Paramathera kandane, by refuting others' philosophical points. They want to establish their own philosophical perspective. Tate chaya darshana haite tattva nahi jani, mahajana ekahe se satyamani. So, tate chaya darshana, there are 6 philosophical treatises. They are Kapila, Jaimuni. There are 6 teachers who talk about 6 philosophical perspectives. Tate chaya darshana haite tattva nahi jani. By studying these 6 philosophical subjects, you will not understand the absolute truth. Mahajana ekahe se satyamani. Only that truth what was spoken by Mahajanas, that is the absolute truth. Se satyamani. We have to accept that is the supreme truth. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Vani Amrutera Dhara Tenho ye kahaya vastu se tattvasara. So therefore, the words of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are a shower of nectar. Amrutera Dhara. So whatever he concludes to be the ultimate truth is indeed the summum bonum of all spiritual knowledge. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is ascertaining, this is the religious principle we have to accept, because he is the Supreme Lord himself and he is the Acharya, Jagat Guru himself. So similarly in Bhagavatam, in further perspectives, in various places, Bhagavatam ascertains how to study from the Mahajanas by saying, Gruheshu avishatam chapi Pumsam kushala karmanam madvarta yata yamanam na bandaya gruhamataha. Now in these 12 Mahajanas, there are some brahmacharis, there are sannyasis, there are grihasthas. Do we differentiate among them? So Shastra says we should not differentiate. The understanding is the basic principle. So a person is qualified by his qualities, not by external veshabhusha. So Shastra say, Pumsam kushala karmanam, of those who are engaged in performing auspicious activities in devotional service, Madvarta yata yamanam, who are always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, engaging in activities at every moment, yata yamanam, always engaged in hearing of the topics of the Lord, passing their life in that perspective. Gruheshu avishtam api, even though he is in a grihastha ashrama, na bandaya gruhamataha, he is not affected by the results of his actions. Na bandaya. He might be in the family life, but he is a detached personality who is always working for the Lord. He is never a attached person. He is a completely detached personality. And his actions are not binding him to this material world. So then, how do we know who is a sadhu? Is there any qualities by which we can ascertain who is a Mahajana? So Kapila Muni says the qualities of a sadhu. He says, Titikshvaha karunaikaha suhrudaha sarvadehinam ajata shatravaha shanta sadavaha sadhu bhushana. He says, these are the symptoms of a sadhu who are Titikshvaha, who is tolerant, Karunikaha, who is very merciful, Suhrudaha sarvadehinam, who is friend to all living entities, Ajata Shatravaha, one who has no enemies, Shantaha, one who is very peaceful, Sadavaha, who abides by the scriptures, and Sadhu Bhushana, all his characteristics are sublime. These are the qualities of a sadhu. Now, when he is preaching to his mother, Devahuti, what was his instruction to his mother? In a perspective, he says, these are the secondary characteristics. There is one more primary characteristics of sadhu. He says, Mayi ananya bhavena, means always in an unalloyed devotion, one who is always thinking of me, Mayi ananya bhavena, bhaktim kurvanti ye drudam, one who engages in my devotional service in firm and determination. Drudam bhakti. Matkrute tyakta karmanaha, one for my purpose who rejects all tyakta karmana, all material activities. Tyaktva swajana bandhavaha, even he renounces his family, relatives and everything for my purpose. He is that great personality. This is such a sadhu engaging in staunch devotional service to the Lord. Mayi bhaktim drudam kuruvanti, without deviation, ananya bhavena. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces matkrite tyaktva, all connections such as family relationship and friendly acquaintances within this material world. Karmanaha swajana bandhavaha. He is a sadhavaha. He is a sadhu. This is his primary characteristics. Secondary characteristics are his qualities. Then, what are his activities? Madashrayaha katam mrishtaha shrunvanti katayanti cha tapanti vividastapa na etan madgata chetasaha. Shrunvanti katayanti cha, he hears and he narrates about my pastimes. Madashrayaha, taking my shelter. Na tapanti vividah tapayetan. The sadhus do not suffer from material miseries. Because for them, nothing like material and spiritual. Everything is connected with the Lord. They see everything as a mercy of the Lord. Because they are always filled with my thoughts of my pastimes and my activities, madgata chetasaha katam rustaha, they do not become carried away by material miseries. Next. Tayete sadavaha sadvi sarvasanga vivirjitaha sangasteshu atatte prartayataha sanga dosha harahite. Tayete sadavaha, all these are sadhus. Sadhvi, oh my dear chaste lady, oh my dear mother. Sarvasanga vivarchitaha, one who is detached from all these materialistic perspectives. Sangasyeshu adate prarthayataha, please pray for their association. Oh my dear mother, take association of such sadhus who are sanga dosha harahite, by whose association all these material effects will be cleansed away from us. So when you associate with that sadhu, we become pure of material contamination. And finally he said, when you associate with them, what you should do or what happens to you. Okay, you got sadhu, you engaged in his service. What will happen to you? He said, Satam prasangan mama virya samvido. Satam prasangan, when you are hearing the discourses of my devotees, mama virya samvidaha, who explain about my glories, Bhavanti hirutkarna rasayana kataha. Bhavanti hirutkarna, that nectar which enters through our ears. When you are hearing Krishna Katha, what is happening to us? That Katha is entering through our ears, into the heart. Hirutkarna. Through the karna, it is entering to the heart. Rasayana Katha, it is like a amruta. Rasayana means amruta. The nectar which is entering through our ears reaches the heart. Tad joshana dasu apavarga vartmani, and it completely stops the cycle of birth and death. It completely negates us from this material world. Then Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishati. Then gradually Shraddha, we develop faith in the Lord. Ratihi, we develop attraction for the Lord. Bhaktihi, we develop devotion service of the Lord. Anukramishyati, in a systematic way. All these things will be developed within us when we hear Krishna Kada in the association of devotees. So this is very important perspective for us. Like sometimes Prabhupada was once Prabhupada was there in Western countries, he gave one letter to a devotee, Krishna Das, to go and post it for a person in India. The devotee came back to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, there is a big hole in this letter of an inch size. Where the stamp is there is 1 inch hole. I cannot post this letter. Prabhupada said, no problem, go post this letter. But the devotee was very adamant, Prabhupada, this is such an inch, such a big hole. Like he was raising his voice and saying to Prabhupada, no, this is not possible, we should not post such a letter. You write one more fresh one that is torn. Prabhupada in a commanding voice, he said, I know everything, just go and post this letter. That devotee became silent because Prabhupada was saying so confidentially. So then, after some time when he posted and came back, Prabhupada explained, see, the nature of the Western world and Indian world is, whenever a letter comes from US, in India, people think that letter contains money. So what they do, they tear open and try to see that there is money or something valuable inside, and they destroy the letter for it not to reach the person it is intended for. But by keeping a hole, they know this is not just money, this is a simple letter, they will deliver to the person. So see how Prabhupada understood the situation. If he would not have said that, we will not know why Prabhupada kept that hole in the letter. Even for a small hole, we can never imagine what the situation might be. Then what we can understand about the perspective of the Lord. Similarly, when the Lord created this material manifestation, he had an idea of what is what. But we, with incomplete knowledge, we try to say, always we see, even though I am of one category, I see somebody beautiful than me, I aspire, I should have been like them. Always we see something superior, I have one car. If somebody has a bigger car, I should have that car. Always this comparing with the others is the biggest problem for us. So, there was one Devata who had a horse, a beautiful horse. It had many good qualities. Generally, animals are checked by their qualities. If they are of good breed, good lineage, pedigree, and their bodily symptoms. Like how, for a Manisha, there is Hasta Samudrika Shastra. Means, physiognomy. A person is considered a great personality by his bodily structure. His chest should be so much, his length should be so much, his hand should be Ajanubahu Lambita. Whenever we see about the Lord, they say his hands will reach up to his knees. Like that, there are certain specifications. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we get around 32 qualities for a Mahapurushaika Lakshana. A person has to be considered as a Mahapurusha. Like even in animals, there are some symptoms by which animal is given a higher gradation or a lower gradation. Like for example, the length versus width versus tail, where the hair should be, where it patches of gold color, white color, black color. Like sometimes people come and say, any black cow is Kapila. People generally, they don't know what is a Kapila cow. Kapila cow is something different. In every breed, there is a Kapila cow. Not just Kapila, any black cow is Kapila. And there should be, sudul antar. Ante hair, wherever that circles like it laga untundi sudulu. Dani shariram paina enni sudulu unnai, enta distance lo unnai dani mopuram nunchi. Alaga dani toka enta undi, dani toka paina hair enta undi. There are so many calculations. Even though it is black everywhere, at its needs position, this should be in a different color. Its body, when it is there in the sunlight, it will shine like a golden color. Even though it is black, its body shines like a golden color. Like that, there are many symptoms just for an animal to say this is of higher grade animal. So these horses are also treated in such a way. The best horses are the Sindh horses, which come from Pakistan side. So this is the best horse with all the good qualities as mentioned above. But still, it wanted to become unparalleled beauty. It wanted more beauty. One day it said to its master, my dear sir, you have given me beauty. You have given me all good qualities. I am grateful to you. But I wish I could be made more beautiful. I would be extremely grateful to you if you can make me more and more beautiful. Then its master said, I am more than ready to make you more beautiful. Tell me in what way I can change you. The horse said, it seems to me I am not well proportioned in my sizes. My neck is too short. If you can make my neck little longer, then my upper body will be like, if I make for a horse, if a neck is little longer, the front chest part, if you have that ballista body, my chest part, 6 packs will be visible. And if you can make my legs are little smaller, you can make it little longer and thinner. I will definitely infinitely look in my body, in my lower body also. Then the Devata, the master said, Tadastu. The next moment, the horse became a camel. Because it had desired, it became a camel. Then horse was disheartened, because I wanted to become more beautiful. The Lord said, this is what you have asked. You wanted a bigger neck, you wanted a longer legs and thinner legs. This is what is eligible for a horse. This is what eligible for a camel. So the horse started crying, oh Lord, I wanted to become more beautiful. In what way this form is more beautiful? The horse started crying, I don't want to become a camel. I want to remain a horse. So nobody will appreciate a camel. Everybody appreciates only a horse. Then the Lord said, never try to achieve or receive more than I have given you. If you want to lead a desired life, then at every moment you will want more and more. But you have no idea what outcome it will be. If you cry for a longer neck and legs, this is what will happen. Each time in my creation has its own good qualities. The camel is not as beautiful as you, but it carries heavy loads and has a tremendous sense of responsibility. In desert, you cannot run. Only camel can survive. So everyone has its own responsibilities and good qualities. So don't try to imitate. Don't try to question my creation. So we all have to understand. We have a limitation. With our limitation, we should not try to imitate somebody. So similarly in spiritual life also, we have to be very careful. When we are practicing, many things will be there. We should never compare with other Vaishnavas. That is the biggest drawback for us. Because different devotees are coming from different backgrounds. Or different lifetimes they would have practiced that bhakti. We don't know who is at what stage of bhakti. So how can we understand them and or how we can imitate somebody? So it is very practical thing. So sometimes we also, it is in a funny way, one experience when I was a bhakta. We used to accompany senior preachers. They used to go for fundraising and we used to accompany them. So there was one devotee who doesn't know Hindi. So he had a Hindi donor whom he had to go. So he picked up one North Indian boy as his assistant. So when they went there, he was communicating in English and that boy is translating to the donor in Hindi. So they got connected to that Hindi boy than the preacher. Because local language they will be able to pursue more. So next time, somebody else went, like me, somebody else went with that donor, with that preacher to the same donor. So they asked the preacher, where is that boy who has come last time? This preacher, because he trying to talk in Hindi, he doesn't know the meaning exactly what he was trying to communicate. So he, तबीयत ठीक नहीं बोलने के लिए he started saying, उसका दिमाग ठीक नहीं है. Because he was trying to speak in his language, trying to communicate, convert and try to put it into Hindi. Sometimes what happens, so better speak in our own language. Or else the intention will not be able to, what we want to communicate will not be able to present properly. So our thing is, that's why we should never judge others and we should always be happy with what we have. Santushta satatam yogi. This is one of the principles of a yogi. He is always satisfied with what he has. And whatever Lord had sanctioned, he is very happy because Lord has given him that much. So in that purport also Prabhupada was saying, I have a special thing where I take away everything from my devotee if I want to make him special to me. This is my special mercy. Yashyaham anugranami harishya taddanam shanai. Tato janam tyajanti yasya swajana dukki dukkitam. This is Lord's extreme mercy upon a person. What is that? If a person comes to me with a desire, if you go to Krishna, generally there are very few people who are connected with Krishna. If you go to Srinivasa, you'll have many devotees. You have Narasimha, many devotees. But very few people which are hardcore devotees of Lord Krishna. Why? Because if you come to Krishna and ask, my dear Lord, I want 1 lakh rupees. Lord will see what is there in your bank account. First he takes away what is there with us. He will make us pauper. Because he says, if you come to me, if you ask something, why? Because Krishna says, I think of the consequences when I give you an entity. If you are asking me 1 lakh rupees, you will take that 1 lakh rupees. What will you do with that 1 lakh rupees? Might be you do sense gratification. You might engage in some sinful activity. Krishna says, knowingly, why I should give you something which will spoil your mentality. First thing is, I will not allow you to take something which will go you away from me. See, mood of Krishna, you see. He doesn't want us to become more karmic in this world. That's why he is trying to protect us. So that's why Krishna's study special mercy, it says, Yashyaham anugranami harishye taddanam shanai. This is my special mercy. First I will take away whatever you have. Tato janam tyajanti yasya. All your people will reject you. When we are pauper, nobody bothers for us. Swajana dukki dukkitam. By this perspective, you become more depressed that you will come and take my shelter and then I will give you unlimitedly. Prabhupada says, this happened in my life. At one particular point, I am supposed to become like a Tata or Birla at that time. My business was slow flourishing. In 1940s to 1935 to 1940, Prabhupada's business was so flourishing. 30s to 40s. But suddenly, when Prabhupada had the intention to follow the order of his Guru that he was supposed to preach, see, Prabhupada thought, let me earn more so that when I have money, I will be able to engage in devotional service in a nice way. But Krishna's thoughts and Guru's thoughts are something different. Krishna took away everything. Finally, he had to beg from his friend 5 rupees or 10 rupees to travel to Vrindavan. He had no money at that time to come to Vrindavan also. So when he came to Vrindavan, he had to lead very austere life with very minimum resources. Then with that resources only, he had managed to print the first 3 volumes of Bhagavatam. And when he struggled to go to US, he had 40 rupees in his pocket, Indian rupees, which is no value in America. So when he got down from the ship, the first donation what he got was by selling one set of books to that Captain Pandya, $20. That is his first investment. But later, in 11 years span, Prabhupada had established, it's still going on, it's all Prabhupada's property, whatever the Hare Krishna, anywhere around the world, it's all Prabhupada's property. So Prabhupada said, who is that businessman? By investing 40 rupees, who had made some thousands of crores. Who is that successful businessman? You can show me in the world. Prabhupada challenges. So this is only possible for a devotee. Krishna took away everything from him and Krishna gave back and he is giving back also. Still he is giving back. So that is Krishna's special mercy. To understand that perspective, only Acharya's guidance only we can understand what is spiritual life and how to practice in this material world. That guidance come to us by the blessings of Acharya. Then we become renounced from this material world so that we can devote ourselves completely to the Supreme Lord and we can go back home, back to God. Any questions or doubts? Everything happening will of the Lord in the devotee's case. The Lord had designed something, but we do follow the design. We don't follow, no? Like for example, when somebody comes and scolds us, what will be your immediate reaction to that? He gave me 1, I'll give him 10. This is our instant mode. See, whenever something happens, we get 2 things in our mind. One is, let me give him back in a big way. Then one more thought also comes, let him suffer his karma. Correct? 2 perspectives come to. Let me neglect him, let him suffer. See, what are these 2 thoughts? One, which wants to take revenge, which comes from our mind. One, which says forgiveness, which comes from Paramatma in the heart. Paramatma is saying, you don't bother, I'll take care of him. I know what to give him back. But you are saying, my dear Lord, you sit down. I know what to give him back. No, what can Lord do? Lord is saying, I am there to take care, but you are saying, no, I will manage. Do we know better than the Lord? So then what can Lord do? He already has given you an idea, but we don't follow the Lord. No, that is a problem. For devotees, other than the Lord, they have no other shelter. They completely depend upon the Lord. Any good or bad, they only take shelter of the Lord. That's why they are completely under the Lord's care. Yogamaya Samavrta. They are taken care by Yogamaya. But we are all under the Mahamaya perspective. So we become carried away by illusion and we act crazily. Okay? Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand.
టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణవాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణవాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 91331077